Sweetie. Yeah, we get the vibing, don't we? We got some topics to discuss. We get it poppin', homie. Just elected like the new mayor. Putting on the classic like he Ric Flair. This is Josh Martinez and Z100. Home of your favorite music where the beats are bumping. Pick your favorite company, the wait is over. It's a superstar crossover. If I can step out.
Hey, what up? I'm Josh Martinez of Z100, New York's #1 hit music station and the Superstar crossover on iHeartRadio with my guest, an OG, a living legend in the wrestling game from Red Hook, Brooklyn, TAZ. What's going on, man?
Josh, how we doing, bro? What's going on, bud?
Chillin'. Listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm a little happy. Normally, I like to do video, but I'm happy to do audio. I don't know where you are right now, but it is so humid in New York City. And I'm in my mom's apartment, typical OG Latina. It's hot in here, dog. So I'm like in a tank top, chilling, like sweating, and I'm happy that we're not on video.
Well, I'm on Long Island, so I'm not that far from you. But I would have done video, but no one told me we're doing video. So this audio is going to be spectacular. That's the key here.
But you know what? When you get two boys from Brooklyn, magic is automatically made. Okay.
Instant magic, instant.
So I rep Sunset Park. You rep Red Hook. What was it like for you growing up in Red Hook and getting into martial arts the way that you did?
Well, it was an outlet, playing football, martial arts. That was my main sports. I was playing judo. I spent basically a lot of my upbringing, was early on in Red Hook, but then into Queens, into Ozone Park when I was probably like in middle school age. Same difference, right? You could put a guy in the middle of Ozone Park, put him in the middle of Green, Williamsburg or Red Hook or whatever. It's the same thing. You don't know where you are. It's all the same. So if people that are from New York know what I'm talking about, from the five boroughs. So it was an outlet, especially playing judo started at a young age. And at a place, it was probably in South Ozone Park. So where I started was a place called Christ School of Judo. And my mother, she knew somebody that her son was working out there. He was a little bit older than me, and I was kind of getting into trouble. I was always a very physical kid. And my mother's like, you need to go and start doing this. And my dad also had some form of training in the sport of judo while he was in the military. So that always helped me. And then once I got into high school, I was, probably 8th grade. I started really getting in. Football is my true love, and just football throughout high school. And I went to high school in East New York. I went to Franklin K. Lane. So, that's where, right over there by Jamaica Avenue. So right over by, right over there in East New York. So that was always fun. We were the first frickin' New York City school to have metal detectors. So that was nice.
It's always, you always remember, like I went to Wagner High School on Staten Island.
Staten Island. Yeah, Staten Island. Yep.
And they would randomly have those days. And it was, I remember vividly having to go through metal detectors and being like, this is ridiculous, only to realize like, no, there's a reason.
Yeah. No, and I remember wearing, what are the colors? Green and white, the Eagles, I think. Was it green and white, the colors? That's cool.
What, the Wagner?
Yeah.
Close. Falcons.
Wagner College. Are they the Falcons too, or are they the Eagles? What are they?
The Wagner, the college, they're green and white.
Oh, I knew that. But we used to play football, not that, anybody, we used to play a lot of the Staten Island schools. We played Tottenville, we played Wagner. Yeah. So we play. I was up there, and my brother lives in Staten Island. My mother lives in Staten Island. My nieces are in Staten Island. There's a lot of people leave Brooklyn, they go to Staten Island, or they come to Long Island. That's what happens. So,
well, you know what it is. I tell everybody the same thing. It's Staten Island, Brooklyn, and then Florida is the end game for me.
I love it. You're right.
That's how it is. So what would you say is your proudest moment in your wrestling career up to this point, excluding anything involving your son?
Well, I would say, thanks for saying that last part. So I would say, for me individually as a wrestler, because I've had two careers. I've had a career as a wrestler, and I currently still, for a lot of years, I have a career as a color commentator, which I love. I would say as an in-ring competitor, as a wrestler, it was the first time I became a world heavyweight champion, like the world heavyweight champion. That was for ECW against Shane Douglas. We had a really strong, epic match, and I believe it was in Kissimmee, Florida, or Orlando. It might have been Kissimmee. So that was my number one proudest moment as a wrestler. And then also making my debut back in the day in 2000 at the Royal Rumble at Madison Square Garden was also like an absolute amazing dream for me. I've had 3 dreams, Josh, in my wrestling career when I first started training. I didn't know how I was going to do it or if it was going to happen. And it was to wrestle at the Garden, no particular order, wrestle at the Garden once, become a world champion once, and just make a living doing this. You know, that was my goals. So, you know, I was able to pull all those off. I mean, they sound like simplistic goals, but they were perfect for me. So those are as a wrestler, my number one deal was becoming a world heavyweight champion in ECW was a major thing for me.
Dude, listen, it is not easy to be the main focus at Madison Square Garden at any one time. That is not something that you can waltz into. It takes a lot of hard work.
Dude, hey, Josh, when I debuted there, like, so everybody knows what happened. Kurt Angle was cutting this promo, blah blah blah. I was the
undefeated Kurt Angle,
undefeated. Thank you, undefeated. And then I was the mystery opponent. I didn't even know. I didn't know they were gonna. I was like just afraid that the people wouldn't know who I was because ECW was smaller, more regional.
Yeah.
So I was nervous. I'm like, oh man, they didn't know who I am. And then that pop happened. I'm like, all right, I think we're good. So that was that. I was nervous. I was like, geez, what if they don't know me? You know. So, but they knew me. They people had signs. They knew I was going to be there. But it was an epic moment. I was blessed to have that moment.
Hey, listen, to me, towels are synonymous with 2 people. And they both happen to be from Brooklyn. And anytime I put a towel on my head, I think of you or Mike Tyson when he would come out to the ring in his peak and just come out with the hole in the towel looking like a total badass.
Yeah, well, Tyson, and I got to know Tyson during my time in AEW, and he's a good dude. Even though, like, he's from Brownsville, so I said I went to Lane, which is right near Brownsville in East New York. So we knew some of the same people, but we never knew each other. But real quick story, Mike Tyson was actually a huge influence on me because I was in my prime when he was in his prime. So, the towel, when I say inspiration, the towel, I got the idea from the towel from Mike Tyson. A lot of people don't know that. But what Tyson used to do, Josh, a lot of people confuse it. He did not wear it over his head. He cut a hole in a white
he cut the hole in it. Yep.
Wore it like a poncho. So what I didn't want to copy him because I like being original. So I used it as inspiration and put it over my head and used black, not white. But the inspiration was definitely from Mike Tyson.
Oh, look at that. See, look at that scoop that I got of iconic symbolism.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you said that you've had 2 different careers. When it comes to the in-ring aspect, is there anything that you would have done differently?
No. Not one thing. No, I'm blessed and proud that my in-ring career, there's not one thing that I want to change. A lot of people feel when I went to WWE as a wrestler back years ago, they didn't utilize me the right way and push me the right way, which is true. They didn't. But you know what? I knew by the time I got to WWE, I already basically completed the goals I told you earlier in this conversation that I had. You know, so I was at home with myself as a wrestler. I knew. Now, sure, the money they were paying me, the contract I had, I thought for sure I was going to get a better push, and I was told I was going to. But politics get in the way, and things happen. It's especially back then, the business behind the scenes, there was a lot of game playing going on, like more than today. Super backstabbing stuff, like super duper, and it affected a lot of guys and girls negatively and positively. And I think as a wrestler today, that caught me on the negative a little bit. Because I'm the type of guy who wears my emotions on my sleeve, and if I know you're playing games behind my back, I'm going to tell you, and that's just who I am. So I don't think that helped me, but I don't care. I have no regrets, 0 regrets at all.
Now you mentioned like the politics or whatever. Is that something that you just kind of gathered on your own, or was it something that happened years later where someone tipped you off and was like, "Hey, remember that the summer of 2000 when you were booked with Jerry Lawler? Yeah, this is really why."
Right. No. I knew it during the time. You got to realize when I went to WWE, I had a lot of years of experience at that point. You know, I was already like a 10-year vet. So I was a world champion. I had a couple of world titles. I was established in ECW and in Japan. So I knew the business. I knew, and being a kid from the street, I knew I could tell when someone's working me. I could tell when I first started wrestling. I could tell, like when I was green. So, I was pretty savvy, street savvy. So, no, I didn't need anyone to. Now, some of the politics, maybe to your point, I had a couple of guys without naming names that did tell me about one or two people without naming names that was kind of burying me. And I believe these guys, so yeah. So, but it's okay. It is what it is. It's part of wrestling. Fans don't realize, I'll be honest with you, like, and this is what Peace Wong's going to tell you, like, in all my over 30 years in being in this business, a lot of times what happens with wrestlers, if they don't get pushed the way people think, a lot of times it's their own fault sometimes what happens backstage. And it could just be a demeanor or disposition. You don't have to kiss butt. I'm not even alluding to that. But there's a certain way, I think, to carry yourself. And I've seen a lot of talented guys and girls it hurts them because it hurts their push, because if you're tough to do business with or deal with, dude, that's you get that rep, it's very bad. And that's what I'll tell you, like in AEW, like when I first came to AEW and I was retired, I was just an announcer, but I could tell, man, the aura is so different and people just a different vibe. And was no backstabbing, none of that crap. It still is. It's just awesome. It's the aura that the company has. You've interviewed Tony Khan, right? So you know the type of guy he is. It starts at the top, and that's kind of what that's why our place is the best place to work, in my opinion.
Now getting back to AEW a little bit, is there a performer that you have your eye on that you're like, hey, right now they got some stuff to work out, but when they figure it out, they're going to be a top star? Is there anyone that you can pinpoint aside from Hook?
Good thing you said that last part again.
I got to look out for you, bro. I'm here for you.
Yeah. No, I mean, we have a lot of, like, our talent. Like, we joke behind the scenes about it. We have levels of youth, depth. And it's going to sound cliche, Josh, but they're all stars already. All the guys and girls we have. And you don't get to this level without being a star. There's some intangible, either physically or a connection to the people or a look or whatever it may be, that makes you a star. Now, if you're going to use the word top guy or top girl, that's a different topic. The top guy, the top girl, that takes some time. So it's tough for me to sit here and give you names, but we could go through a litany on the male roster or the female roster. So like on the female roster, someone like a young athlete like Anna Jay, or someone like Julia Hart, like these type of people, they have the potential, and they're at a young age on the female side, just two off the top of my head, and that's no disrespect to nobody else, that could skyrocket. There's definitely that it factor, and there's something there. On the male side, again, no particular order. And it just excluding Hook just for a second, but the hell with it, I'll throw him in there too, from Jungle Boy to Hook to Dante Martin to. I'm talking about the guys in their early 20s. Like we have, that's what I'm saying, layers. Then we have the mid 20s and the late 20s, from the whoever it may be, Sammy Guevara's and the Darby Allens. Those guys are more mid to late 20s. Obviously MJF he's a top guy already. I mean, he is at whatever he is, 26. So our foundation is phenomenal. Our foundation on the male and female side is phenomenal. So, bro, it's tough to give you one name. I just can't do it. I seriously can't.
It's a good problem to have. And this isn't a situation like in football where you say you have two starting quarterbacks. Because if you say you got two starting quarterbacks, you ain't got a starting quarterback.
That's true. That's very true. You are correct.
Look at the Jets backup situation. Am I right?
Well, yeah, it's not just them, but it's not just them. Now, it's not just them. No, there's a lot of programs, NFL programs, to the point you're making. What QB issues there really is. I'm watching the Seahawks last night. Who knew Geno Smith is going to do what he did? If you were a Jet fan back in the day when Geno Smith played for the Jets, this guy was putrid. It's horrible, Listen, and next he's a different player now.
The fact that he's famous for snuffing someone, that should just tell you his time with the Jets, right?
Hey, I saw that game.
So we talk about taking that next step, and obviously your son Hook is taking that next step, but he's also taking a little bit of a newer next step, not only in the ring, but anytime you bring an outside entertainer into the ring, there's a lot of extra eyeballs onto you. And it was announced Wednesday night on Dynamite that Hook will be in the ring with Action Bronson, the rapper, as his partner, going into AEW Dynamite Grand Slam at Arthur Ashe Stadium. As a father, what type of pressure is on you? Like, do you feel like you have more anxiety watching him than he does going in there?
Yes. Yeah, the quick answer is yes, definitely, absolutely. Any adjective you want. Yes, it drives me nuts. But, the thing is, actually, when Hook is wrestling, what keeps me calm, believe it or not, is Hook. Like, I'll just go talk to him, like, kind of before the show. If I'm at the announce desk, I don't see him, maybe I'll text him or something. Just like, I'll just go talk to him real quick before the show goes live. I'm like, how you doing? We're good. He just laughs. He's like, yeah, I'm totally cool. Like, once I see that smirk, I know, like, and he don't smirk much, but like, I know him. I his whole life, obviously, as his dad, and I coached him when he was younger, and I was, when he was playing football, and even when he was young, playing baseball, like there was a group of us dads in town that would coach that were former athletes, just so the kids learned the right way, So I've watched him his whole high school and collegiate career as a lacrosse player and as a Division I athlete. I've watched how hard he's worked, so I know like his prep. Like the key to being successful in anything, but especially our business, is prep. And any legitimate athlete knows how to prep. Like no matter before they get in wrestling or not. Like so, his prep, he knows how to prep. So like but I still get worried. I just want to make sure everything's right. Everybody talks about second generation wrestlers, how they're born on third base in pro wrestling, and that's true. They are born on third base. That's fact. But I'm gonna tell you this right now. They have a different level of pressure on them than people that were not second generation. So that's what people don't think about. And like I know when Hook was little, like most of the times I was gone. I was on the road. So second generation guys and girls, they kind of pay dues in a weird way because their parent is not around. That one of their parents is not around as much as the average kid. And it's like that's something people don't think about. And they also don't think about that white light, that hot light that's on these guys and girls that are second gen, that there's pressure. No excuse, it's a fact. So I can tell you this much. When you see what Hook on camera is Hook. He don't sweat nothing or nobody. And I'm not trying to be cool or make him cool. It's a fact, dude. Like anybody who knows him that you're gonna interview, you ask them, they'll tell you, no, that dude is like he's cold, And Action Bronson, he's like family to us. We know each other so long and been friends, and he knows Hook for so long, and like him and Hook are boys, and they don't live far from each other. So like it's like they're in the city, I'm on Long Island, so I don't see Bronson as much as Hook does, but it's they're tight, man, and me and Bronson are tight, so it's like been friends for a long time.
No, that's dope, and I mean the fact that he's on this higher level platform in front of 20,000 people in a loud ass building, because that metal roof at Arthur Ashe, it gets louder in there. Definitely added pressure, but it sounds like he's going to be composed in the pocket, if you will, with Action Bronson at AEW Grand Slam this upcoming Wednesday at 8:00 on TBS. Before I let you go, what type of music do you listen to? We've got the little Taz in the car, bopping his head Twitter account that a lot of wrestling fans are fans of. But what do you listen to?
My go-to stuff, I would say, if I'm chilling, I have different levels, Josh. If I'm on a plane chilling, I'm putting the Eagles on. I'll listen to Steely Dan, that type stuff. Like stuff you would think a guy cat my age would listen to. Steely Dan, Eagles, those are go-tos for me. If I'm in the gym, I still work out lightly, and I just lost a bunch of weight, so I had to train and stuff and all this jazz. So in the gym, or if I'm in more of an aggressive mood, go-to usually is Limp Bizkit. So I would go that route, whatever. I don't know if that's rap rock or back in the 90s, what that was categorized the genre, I don't know. And obviously not to sound like, whatever, but as far as hip hop, the only guy I like, because I'm not a real hip hop fan or rap fan, it is Action Bronson, I guess, because I know him so well, and his music, a lot of it just makes me laugh because he's crazy. So, but I mean, I know Hook will tell me about certain rappers, and I don't even know these dudes. Some of them I've learned from him. Like, if we're in an arena, I'm like, he's got earphones on. I'm like, I'm Hook, what are you listening to? And he's like telling me, and it's like, man, what's the dude with the, man, hold on. The guy, I'll give it to you in a second. The three guys, that one guy was friends with,
Cardi B, Migos?
No, Amigos. That's the guys. Yeah, Amigos, and then ASAP Rocky. I know his name. Like, you know, I know these guys' names just from, you know, over the time talking about it. He's, you know, that's it, bro. Otherwise, I'm striking out. I mean, as far as the music, I know Action Bronson. Obviously, I know Jay-Z is a Brooklyn guy, but like, it's like, and I know he's an icon. But otherwise, like I said, it's Eagles, Steely Dan, you know, chill music like that. And if I'm working out, I'm gonna go a little Nirvana, Pearl Jam, definitely Limp Bizkit, that stuff when I was in my prime, the stuff that was hot. White Zombie, you know, that kind of thing.
So one more time, this upcoming Wednesday, AEW Dynamite from Arthur Ashe Stadium, Dynamite Grand Slam. Bit of a homecoming, not only for Action Bronson, not only for Hook, but for the guy that's going to be at the booth as well. Taz, I appreciate you giving us some time, bro.
Thank you, Josh. Good talking to you, buddy, and hope everybody enjoys the show because we're gonna rock it for sure next Wednesday on Dynamite and Rampage for Grand Slam in Queens.